Recording in progress.
On January the 1st, 2007, life as we know it for Black-owned nonprofits and Black businesses is going to change. A bill was signed on April the 22nd, 2026, to put this into motion. Please, if you know a nonprofit, big or small, or a Black business, big or small, please share this with them. The name of this presentation is called Senate Bill 34, Live Local Act and Merit, Excellency, and Intelligence. Impact on Black-owned businesses in Hillsborough County. Policy shifts and a new way forward. Well, what is Senate Bill 1134, to which I will be referring to through the rest of this presentation as 1134? Well, 1134 was signed by the governor on April the 22nd of 2026. Let's look at the three categories that is going to be impacted. First, it bans DEI spending. It prohibits county and municipalities from using taxpayer funds to support or promote any DI initiative, office, or officers. Second, it voids local programs. It notifies the existing local ordinance requiring specific minority participation percentage in government contract or bids. And finally, it mandates compliance. Businesses and nonprofits receiving government grants must sign a legally binding certification pledging DEI-free use of funds. So let's look at the lay of the land before 1134, and let's talk about the impact on contracting and certification. Well, before 1134, race conscious EB, EBE certification was set aside goals. This is what was in the atmosphere before 1134. Now, with 1134, MBE programs restructure as race neutral, that is, small business encouragement. Before 1134, procurement preference pointed for Black and minority firms. After 1134, merit-based or price-based selection only, no preference points. Before 1134, dedicated chief diversity officer roles in local government. After 1134, CDO roles eliminated or repurposed, chilling effects on administration. Before 1134, local audience protecting minority participation percent. After 1134, conflicting local audience ruled by state law. And finally, CDCs and nonprofit operating budget with equity focus. Let me say it again. CDCs and nonprofit operating grants with equity focus. After 1134, legacy nonprofits face 25% annual funding cuts starting in 2026. How the law enforces compliance. So they use three mechanisms designed to prevent local workarounds. First, financial defunding. All AI office staff, events, and publications must be eliminated. Government cannot spend any funds, including federal pass-through, on DEA promotions or workforce composition manipulation by race. Second, mandatory certification. Every organization receiving local contracts or grants must sign a legally binding class. Funds will not be used for DEA training, instruction, materials. Violators trigger contract termination and fund clawback. Personal liability. County commissioners who vote for prohibited program face removal from office for malfeasance. Any county resident may file a citizen lawsuit challenging local spending, creating a chilling effect on officials. Any county resident may file a citizen lawsuit challenging local spending. Okay, well, what remains permitted? What is the safe harbors? Well, first, let's talk about federal compliance. Programs funded by federal agencies like HUD, DOT, etc., that require equity or minority participation goals are exempt. Federal dollars federal dollars bypass state restriction. Equal opportunity. Standard anti-discrimination policy remain fully legal. The law targets preferential programs, not equal access or exclusion protection. Historical observance. Black History Month accommodation, cultural festival, Zion cemetery, and cultural markers are protected as state and federal observation, not classified as DEI. Geographic and economic targeting. Programs focus on low to moderate income residents or Pacific underfunded census tract are compliant. Economic criteria and not racial criteria are the key. Again, Pacific underfunded census tract are in compliance. Economic criteria, not racial criteria, are the key here. Again, it takes away the question of race, but you can focus on census tracts. Okay, let's dive into strategic language. Pivot. Show compliance as and competitive. So I'm going to use the language that we were using for the Technology Wealth Building and Job Creation Center in our proposal that we're about to bring into play as part of the Romeo deal. Okay, let's talk about tradition at risk. We were using black-owned business support. Now, because it's 1134, we're going to change that to small business incubator for census tract 43 or any of the census tracts in which we are focused on. Traditional language, racial equality and technology. Now, and based on 1134, we're changing that terminology to closing the digital literacy gap for LMI households. Minority workforce training. We're changing that to workforce readiness for displaced West Tampa residents. If you recall, our program changed, and now it's called reducing displacement as opposed to gentrification or any of those terms that would trigger some possible ramifications. Then finally, equity-focused CDD program. That's what we did say. That's what most CDCs do, equity-focused programming. Now the language is under resource census tract community development. Okay, let's look at the effects on CDCs and Black-led nonprofits. So there's two simultaneous pressures for squeezing community organization. First, let's go to the 1134 pressure. Well, first, must sign a DEI free certification to receive any local grants. Must remove equity language from mission statement and material. For you CDCs that out there, listen to this. You must remove equity language from mission statement and material. Race conscious programs become ineligible for public funding. Risks of fund clawback if certification is violated. Now let's look at the county squeezing, and we call the county funding. First, 100%, 100 plus legacy nonprofits lost reoccurring funding, county funding in a 2025 vote, July 2025. 25% of annual reduction starting in 2026, zero by 2030. Disproportionately affects Black-led organizations and CDCs. Shift from stable operating grants to one-time projects only. This is going to change the lay of the land when it's come to pursuing funding, especially in Black community. But we have a solution and a workaround around that. We'll talk about that near the end of this presentation. Okay, if that wasn't enough, excuse me, now control that neighborhoods used to have and controlling what that neighborhood looked like is changing with the Live Live Act. It's a new layer of pressure. Let's talk about it. Well, this was passed in 2023, and it was amended in 2024 and 2025. Florida Live Local Act was designed to increase affordable housing statewide by overriding local zoning rules. While presented as a housing solution, its real world effect is historically Black neighborhoods is accelerating displacement and development pressure. Okay, let's look at the four ways it's doing it. First, zoning override. Local governments can no longer block quality, affordable, multifamily develop, development based on height, density, or zoning, even in historically residents or culturally significant neighborhoods. Second, commercialized zoning conversion. Developers can build multifamily housing on commercially or industry local land without local approval, rezoning, or community input. Only thing it requires that 40% of the units are affordable for 30 years. And then 1.5 billion in funding. The, the act allots up to 150 million per year in funding for 10 years for affordable housing. However, competitive rent assets tend to favor large, well capitalized developers over community based CDCs. Listen to what I'm saying. Competitive grant access to large funding favor large, well capitalized developers over to community based CDC. What does this do for Community Development Corporation in the housing field now that your well capitalized developers can compete for those dollars? And then finally, expedited permitting. Qualifying live local projects receive fast track permitting and reduce regulatory friction, while community opposition and local hands are bypassed. And listen to me, community. A lot of the things that have had to go through the city council, the county, and things of that nature when it comes to development, because of this act right here that was started in 2022 and extended in 2024 and 25, that's no longer the case. So even the control that was once preserved for neighborhoods are being bypassed. Okay, let's look at live local act and let's look at displacement risk for Black Tampa. First, let's go over to the displacement risks. Black neighborhoods like West Tampa, Tampa Heights, and East Tampa face development pressures from out of area investors using live local funding overrides. Rising property values from new development price out long term Black residents and businesses. Community input and local hearing are bypassed. Residents lose voices over neighborhood change. CDCs cannot compete with large developers because of the live local funding pool. Affordable units under the Act goes up to 125% of AMI, $27,000 plus a month for 2 bedrooms, far below what most displaced residents can afford. Historic Black cultural institutions face demolition pressures surrounding land value spikes. So let's talk about the strategic opportunity. Well, the Rome Yard redevelopment qualifies under the live local mixed use framework. It uses it to anchor community control. The West Tampa CDC can partner with local Black developers to compete with state funding for the LMI census tract framing. Zion Cemetery and historic preservation sites are protected. Anchor land trusts around them before surrounding parcels are acquired. Community land trusts can permanently preserve affordable housing and commercial space for Black-owned businesses. Churches and faith institutions can use live local provisions to develop housing on their own land, keeping control local. Okay, let's look at this. How how HB 1134 and live local acts work together. So let's talk about the two. Let's talk about how the law creates a let's talk about the two laws creating a compounding effect on Black-owned businesses and communities. Let's start with the area of impact. Now let's start with government contracting. Because of the effects of 1134, MBI preference pointed eliminated. When it comes to live act, when it comes to live local act effects, local developers favor over housing contracts. Local developers favor for housing contracts. Combined risks, black firms lack out on 2 points. Community land trust, community land. CDC loses operating funds and equity program. This is under 1134. Under live local, zoning overrides allow outside developers to build anyway. What other combined risks? Community land lose without resources to fight. Nonprofit funding under nonprofit funding related to area of impact. Well, what will 1134 do? Equity grants eliminated. DEI free certification required. Next, housing funds go to competitive developers, not CDCs. What is the combined risk? Black-led organizations face dual funding drought. And then finally, neighborhood character. No legal tools to address racially targeted disinvestment by way of 1134 effect. And then live local zoning overrides bypass community concerns. Displacement accelerates with no legal recourse. Both changes are coming and changes are here. The full impact will be felt on January the 1st of 2027. Please share this video. Okay, now let's talk about the new way forward. It's called mirth, excellency, and intelligence. In the post-DEI policy environment, the new rule of engagement has changed. The organization, businesses, and individuals who strive to be more, who strive to, let me do this again. The organization, businesses, and individuals who strive will be those who compete on undeniable merit, deliver measurable excellency, and apply superior intelligence, making the case for their values so clear that no policy can ignore. Okay, let's talk about how do we break that down. So, what does it mean in practice? So, MEI is not a retreat. It's a it's a recalibration. The shift from identifying the shift from identifying the shift it's been a long day, folks. Give me an opportunity to get back. The shift from identify based programs to merit based control competitions demand that black owned businesses and community organizations will build such undeniable proof of value that any evaluation system must recognize them. So let's break it down MEI letter by letter. Let's talk about the M. The M stands for merit. Merit. That is, win contract through documented track record and measurable outcome. Build portfolios that speak loud, louder than certification. Compete in SBA programs with superior proposal and pricing. Demonstrate community impact through hard data, not equity language. Excellency. Deliver results that set the standard, not that's needed. Create programs so effective that funders seek you out. Build partnership with institutions that validate quality. establish a reputation that transcends programs, eligibility rules, and finally, intelligent. Use AI, data, and technology as competitive equalizer. Understand the legal landscape and operate inside of safe harbors. Pursue federal and private funding pathways that bypass state restriction. And finally, frame every initiative in the language the current policy environment rewards. Okay, now let's talk about MEI in action related to the Technology, Wealth Building, and Job Creation Center, which of course is part of the Rome Yard deal. So let's jump into it. The center is not just a workforce program, it is a living demonstration of DEI by combining AI training, physical skills, and economic mobility into a single community anchored facility. It competes on merits where no policy barrier can reach. Let's talk about the merits. Well, the curriculum is grounded in the industry recognized AI and digital skill certification. Graduates enter the workforce with credentials that stand on their own. No equity framework needed to validate their competency. E, and for excellency. It's designed as a one of a kind hub, not a replication of existing programs, but a first of its kind model com- combining AI literacy, wealth building education, and job placement into a single roam yard location. Intelligent, using AI tools and data driven curriculum to choose digital divide in West Tampa, framed around LMI census tract outcomes, compliance under the 1134 while delivering equity impact through economic language. Okay, why the center is a one of a kind competitive advantage. No competitive facility in Hillsborough County combines all five dimensions into one place. First, let's talk about AI digital skill training. Typical typical force program is Rally. Tech Training Center. Yes. Technology, Wealth Building, and Job Creation Center. Yes, it's at its core. Wealth building education. Sometimes, that is, they do it. But us, typical training center, no. Us, yes. So as you can see, let's go back to the beginning. When we compare AI digital training programs, most programs do work on workforce and AI rarely does it. When we talk for typical tech training program, yes. When we talk about the Wealth Building Job Creation Center, yes, it's at its core. When we talk about capacity, when we talk about wealth building education, some workforce program, yes. When it comes to technical training center, no. But when it comes to us, yes, we integrate it as part of our strategy. When it comes to job placement and employees ties, yes, typical workforce programs do this. Tech Training Center rarely do it, but yes, it's built into our program. When we talk about community owned slash CDC anchor, some programs, workforce programs, sometimes most tech training centers, no, but yes, West Tampa CDC does include this. When we're talking about SBA 1134 compliance and MEI aligned, most program when it comes to workforce program, uncertain. Same thing when it comes to tech training center, uncertain. But when it comes to the center, when it comes to the Technology Wealth Building and Job Creation Center, it's built by design. So what this shows you is that when it comes to the workforce, when it comes to the technology workforce, when it comes to the Technology Wealth Building and Job Creation Center, we've already MEI compliance. Okay, let's now go to the next topic at hand, folks. I just want you to think about the information we just gave you as we move forward to the next section. Okay, action for Black businesses and community leaders. One, pivot to SBE programs. That is, register the small business engagement programs. Fully, fully legal, race neutral, and still access any business. Let me do that again because I think I kind of messed it up. Register through the small business engagement programs. It's fully legal, it's race conscious, and it's still access to any business. Pursue federal grants. HUD, DOT, and federal grants still requires equity goals, bypassing state DEA restriction entirely. So again, the funding sources in this new climate is federal funding as well as foundation and corporation, as opposed to state money. It's a new animal when it comes to state money. Okay, number three, reframe, don't retreat. Retreat. Shift to geographic economic language. That is LMI households, unfunded census tract, displaced resident. Again, if you notice our presentation that we gave on the uh, Technology and Wealth Creation Center, the whole title was Anti-Displacement Strategy. Again, the language is clear. Then let's go to the fourth. Compete on MEI. Build track records so strong that merit alone wins contract. Let excellency speak and let excellency speak in a post DEI landscape. And next, form community land trust. Permanently protected land in black neighborhoods from displacement before live local act investors arrive. And then finally, act before January the 1st of 2027. Review contacts, rewrite mission statement, and refile certification before Senate Bill 1134 takes effect. So, the road ahead. The rules has changed, but the mission has not. 1134 eliminates race conscious tools. The Live Act accelerates displacement, but merit, excellency, and intelligence are the one the one currency no policy can devalue. The Technology Wealth Building and Job Creation Center is proof. When Black-led organizations build institutions that are undeniable excellent, no argument is won before the application. The argument is won before the application is filed. It's a new world. Let's take it into effect and now in front of our own eyes. These changes right here threatens the existence of community control, black businesses, nonprofits, and others. We have to operate accordingly. The West Tampa CDC understands the New World Order and hence the Technology, Wealth Building, and Job Creation Center. Please share this with someone that you know that is either a nonprofit, a black business, or a concerned citizen. In 2027, everything is about to change. But it doesn't have to.